Hello everybody, and today I wanted to make a short video about the news of the day that has been all over social media and that everybody is like shocked with, and I've seen thumbnails with crazy face, oh, this is bad for SoFi, etc., etc. But the news of the day, what is the news of the day? Well, it turns out that the administration is not accepting any new applications for student loan forgiveness because it's been struck down. It has been struck down by a federal judge, and it will probably be struck down again, if you ask me. Um, and this is not a surprise. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. Like it wasn't advertised, as a headline news, but we kind of knew this was going to happen. This is a classic technique, and I think people should remove all emotions when they think about this stuff because it's a classic technique where you have an election. Before the election, you make an announcement. An announcement of something that you know is likely going to be struck down by a judge. And if you remember the DACA era 15 years ago, that was the same kind of stuff. Like they knew it was going to be in the hands of judges for 15 years for DACA, and this is year three. I mean, we're reaching year three of this moratorium on student loans, and it shouldn't be a surprise. Like this happens all the time. You make an announcement, and you have a party before anything actually happens. Like before you know for sure you have a party. It happens for firms too. Like firms announce acquisitions and they're so happy on the conference call, oh, we're going to make this great acquisition, or we're getting this or that, and then it doesn't end up happening. Really, talk is not what matters. What matters is tangible things. Like, are things really going to go through? And I, it's not a surprise to me. It's not a surprise to anyone. I think who realistically follows the stock without much emotion and is being stoic in their following of the stock. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. And in fact, I made a video 6 days ago when I was saying, oh, it will this hurt SoFi or not if the legal challenges work, and of course they worked. So again, not a surprise, despite some people may act surprised, but it's not a surprise. We've known this would not go through for a while, and actually, well, this was a recent article. There's been a lot of articles telling us it's not going through. And actually, if you listen to the CEO, if you listen to Anthony Noto, in Q4 2021, Q1 2022, and even Q2, questions from analysts are very often about student loan forgiveness. And frankly, Anthony Noto, I find that he's been not that positive about it. If you listen to his tone in the call, like he's like, oh yeah, sure, it's gonna come back, so we're getting ready for when it comes back. But actually in Q1, he extended by 1 year. He said we don't expect any impact from federal student loan refinancing for 1 year, and he said that in the Q1 2022. So I expect the next call is be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be another year or another 2 years. So again, student loans are not coming back anytime soon for SoFi. Federal student loan refinancing is not coming back anytime soon for SoFi. Like, I really don't think, especially if we have a divided Congress, I really don't think it's coming back anytime soon. So people should stop considering this company a student loan company. It is not a student loan company anymore. When you look at the history of this, I think DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is a very good example to use. Okay, we've been at 3 years of moratorium. Are we going to get a decade of a student loan moratorium? Are we going to get 15 years of a student loan moratorium? The judges still don't agree on DACA and on whether DACA is legal or not. And so we're not supposed to put a lot of emotion into this stuff. Like this can take decades. This moves at the speed of government. So this can take decades. It's like I think as shareholders we need to forget about student loans. It's been almost 3 years, and it's going to be like that for a very long time. Either until judges agree, or until Congress actually passes something on this the proper way. And I think the more likely outcome is that we're going to have to wait a very long time before student loan payments resume. And they have now not announced that, but this is a logical implication that, of course, the moratorium will continue. Like if this does not go through, the moratorium continues. I would be very, 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 very surprised if the moratorium didn't continue. That is my expectation to this stock, um, and I think it will continue. So again, the market may have, I mean, today everything's up, right, because of the Fed, but the market may have a wrong reaction either to this or to the announcement of the extension of a moratorium, which I believe will happen. Um, but it's okay because we should know that this company has moved on. The CEO pivoted. The CEO is beyond this. The CEO is off. The company is off to bigger things, right? This quarter, their big thing they're working on is options and options trading, trying to go after Robinhood. This is a very disruptive company, right? The revenue is up year over year without any federal student loans, right? They had a triple beat, as I've said in my last video on SoFi. They had a triple beat. They beat on earnings, beat on revenue, and beat on guidance. That's a triple beat at 50%. The company is still growing 50% year over year, while they lost their main business pre-IPO. The main business they had prior to the IPO was student loans, and they lost 60%, 70% of that business, which was federal, they lost it and they were able to pivot. Think about how agile that company is. That company is very, 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 very agile. I'd be curious to see how companies that are specifically only focused on refinancing private loans or public loans, I'd be curious to see how they're doing because SoFi is extremely, extremely agile on this. And to the point that when student loan repayments resume, or if they resume, this at that point will be an insignificant part of SoFi's business. So if I go back to my prior video, we're in scenario two. We're in scenario two where the legal challenge won, one of them, there's many other ones, and thus forgiveness is on hold, and thus I anticipate that within a few weeks we'll find out that the moratorium continues. And for how long? Right. Well, could be 2 years. I mean, at least 2 years if they have to go for Congress. Could be 4. Could be 6. I mean, pretty much every 2 years, every new election cycle, you have a shot at this ending. But really, I mean, my intuition is one thing, but that's not how I act. I act based on the basis that I can't predict this. And so when I analyze SoFi, I'm just like I can't predict student loans, and I'm just removing this component from my analysis of the stock entirely. Take the emotion out of the stock. I'm just saying this because it's making the headlines, right? The headlines are all about if it bleeds, it leads. This is a sense you can make a sensational article on this. Oh, no more student loan, no more forgiveness. Like you can make a lot of sensation on this, and that could hurt SoFi. But again, I think SoFi will be fine. And we're still in scenario two with either the outcome of some debt being forgiven. And if some debt is forgiven, then it's going to be a short term catalyst, whether it happens in 2 years, 3 years now. But going forward, smaller volume for SoFi. And if not, well, it's going to be more of a long term catalyst because um, eventually student loan payments may resume eventually, and if there is no cancellation, obviously that would be bigger amounts to refinance. So that could obviously be, I think, a more positive catalyst in the long run. But again, I'm taking emotion out of this entirely, and don't trade on SoFi based on all of this, right? Not investment advice, but don't trade on SoFi based on all of this. I'll finish with a quick thoughts about that. So people are not making payments on federal loans right now, those that have student loans. And so, okay, well, what are the implications of this? Like, what are the the non-emotional implication of this? Well, that means there's more money available to people who are not making these payments. And that money has to be put somewhere. It has to be spent somewhere. I mean, it's not kept in cash, right? It has to be spent somewhere. And I believe that whatever happens, I mean, the extra income that does not go towards repaying student loans flows through other products that make money for SoFi, right? So customers, of course, could refinance their private loans still, but there's tons of stuff that they can do, right? They can spend money, so via credit card. They can save money, so via stock, saving account. They can get over debt, like car loans, so via offers that. They can get a house. They can trade options. So money is still flowing. There is still a velocity of money, and SoFi, like a bank, like most banks, acts as a toll who gets a small fee on that velocity of money. And so, as investors, that money is not lost. It's just going to flow into other products. And lastly, one final thought, of course, and this is linked to the theme of this channel, beat the denominator, which is the idea that the US dollar, of course, will keep expanding at an alarming pace. The money stock, the amount of dollars out there will keep growing at a crazy pace. And this is, of course, not helping, because if student loans are not coming back, right? If repayments are not coming back, well, who's going to finance the gap, right? It's going to be the deficit. And if the deficit grows, then it eventually that means that the Fed has to engage into QE and has to buy government bonds and has to issue base money again, thus growing the money supply and thus devaluing the dollar. So again, no emotions on this. This is just the way the world works. So this news, I would argue, has a bigger impact on the denominator. It has a bigger impact on what the size of the money stock is going to be, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, because this debt is not being serviced. And the government doesn't have the money to service this debt. And that's what they do, is that they issue bonds, right, that go to the treasury. They issue bonds in order to be able to fill that gap. And the main buyer of those bonds is going to have to be the Fed, because Japan, China, they're not buying bonds anymore. They're supporting their currency, and there's just not enough buyer of bonds out there. So it's going to have to be the Fed. So in conclusion, not a big deal. SoFi will be fine. Don't believe the scary headlines that tell you that SoFi is going to be in trouble. That is my opinion. Thank you so much. Not investment advice, not ever investment advice. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I appreciate if you follow me on Twitter. I hope to do some threads on there at some point. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you.